All right. Have you internalized the gross misconception that being single after a certain age is awful? And if so, how is that affecting your love life? Hey, sweet babies. I'm Candace Harper. Welcome to Loving Relationships for Women of Color. And for several decades, I believed that my love life was supposed to be someone else's idea of perfection. My family's, the churches, the millions of romance novels that I read in high school. For most of my adult life, I toggled between trying to be perfect or rebelling against someone else's ideals, which culminated in unsustainable, broken relationships, and finally, a relationship that was so emotionally and physically abusive that I suffered 3 miscarriages, was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and ended up losing my home. So yeah, it took deep level fear for my safety and my future for me to listen to source energy, God, the universe, trying to tell me to know and love myself first, and for me to get crystal clear about who I am. Stop waiting for anyone else's permission and love who I want to love. So after I became the love of my own life, I met my ideal partner and we live a loving, happy life with our 3 dogs. We're the family I wanted all along, but most importantly, he aligns with my values and he's my best friend. I made a colossal shift in how I experience my love life, and I've helped thousands of other women do it too. I know for sure that as women of color, we have the ability to create worlds. And sometimes we just need the right guidance. I'm Candace Harper, relationship coach and hypnotherapist, and I believe that we all deserve joyful, peaceful, abundant, fulfilling, and loving relationships. I have what I want, and there's no reason why you can't too. I'm here to teach you. So make sure to subscribe. Stick with me week to week, where I and my amazing powerhouse guests will lead you to a love life that loves you back. Subscribe, follow, comment, and engage. You are part of this conversation too. As you're coming in, feel free to comment. We will talk to you. We will interact. And speaking of powerhouse guests, I am about to introduce you to one today that has been a tremendous force in my life. As one of my business and life coaches as well, she's part of a very important community in my life entitled the Wake Up Everybody Community. You can check it out on Facebook. You can find either one of us facilitating there and holding space for life transformation. But this guest I'm bringing on today is just someone who's just become very important to me in the last few months, just because of her ability. And like I said, when I started to work with her, I need someone who's going to tell me the truth and kick my ass, and her ability to tell the truth with so much compassion and, relating with my best possible self. And the part of the reason that this show even exists is because of my work with this woman. My special guest today is Meika Joseph. She's a seasoned professional who has excelled in the dual roles of life coach and interior designer for over 15 years. Her journey in these fields has been marked by a commitment to guiding individuals towards their fullest potential while simultaneously bringing creative visions to life. So, we connected over that because y'all know I love to design and, make things look beautiful. And that's what Meika does, as well as coaching. As a designer, Meika's artistic flair and keen eye for aesthetics have allowed her to craft captivating and functional spaces that resonate with her clients' aspirations. Her design philosophy centers around blending practicality with innovation, resulting in environments that not only visually captivate, but also promote a sense of harmony and well-being. Coupled with her expertise as a life coach, Meika possesses a unique ability to understand the symbiotic relationship between personal growth and the spaces we inhabit, making her a true catalyst for transformation and positive change. All right, let me bring on Meika.
Hello.
What's up, beautiful girl? Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And can I just say, how much I'm loving the beautiful summer eyelet that's going on? I don't know, is it a blouse or is it a dress?
It's a dress. It's a whole dress.
Yes, got it.
The angle. Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's gorgeous. So thank you so much for being here, Meika. Today we are talking about celebrating your season of single, the importance of knowing how to release single girl shame.
Yes. Wow. What an interesting and important topic to talk
Yeah.
about, right? Like to really jump into. It's so meaty because, I am 49 years old and I am moving into 50 and come this January 2024.
Yeah.
And so, I've been single now for, I want to say, 4.5 years, almost 5 years.
Yeah.
And before that, I was in a relationship for 18 years.
Wow.
So this 4.5 years has been, very interesting.
I imagine. And I want us to dig into that a little bit because I took a hiatus myself before I got into the relationship that I'm in now. And I feel like that, I call it the seasons of single. I feel like they're so important. And a lot of times, the time that we spend maybe not necessarily having what we thought we would have or trying to transist out of something we had, I think a lot of times we make ourselves wrong for that.
Right.
Or we think there's some time limit for how long we're supposed to do that. And I think
Right.
that kind of ruins the experience of it, right?
Well, when you began to ask me to come and do this interview, it really had me start to reflect and think about what single life has meant for me these past 4.5 years. Because I wrote in the post on Facebook and Instagram to promote this interview. I wrote that I have been dating since I was 14 years old.
Wow. Yeah.
August Martin High School. And so I've been dating since 14, and I never really took a break that took a long time,
Yeah.
where there were like tons of years in between. And so this was like the first time that I actually had years in between of being in in-depth relationship or just even dating.
Yeah.
So this time I was able to like sit back and really look at me,
Yeah.
start to look at some of the things that were blinding me, some of the things I didn't see about myself, some of my habits, right? And like really go through the discomfort, because I think a lot of women, or I'm not just going to say women, I'm just going to say period. A lot of couples stay in relationships because they're avoiding being lonely.
Yep.
Or being by themselves, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like you don't want to just sit and be by yourself.
Yeah.
Now, I had to face that as well
Yeah.
inside of this hiatus.
Before you ended your 18-year relationship, how long would you say, if there was a period of it where you were like, should I be alone? Am I afraid to be alone? Like, how long do you think that period went on for you, if it did?
Inside of the relationship or after?
Yeah, like right before you. I know for my last relationship before I had a nice hiatus, a nice long hiatus, I know that there was at least now this was only a 5-year relationship, at least a solid 3 of them. I was like, I need to be single, but I'm afraid to be single. Did you have any of that time? Yeah.
Yeah. I think also, when you avoid yourself, right, and you are not really facing some of these fundamental truths about yourself, you will have a sensation in your gut where you know the truth, right, of what you need, or even what that other person need, or even that you will know the truth that you are not for each other.
Yeah.
Right. But you will step over that truth out of, fear. You will step over that truth out of scarcity.
Yeah.
Right. Like I look at, I don't want to be alone as a scarcity conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So you will hold on to something that is no longer aligned because you are, and it's so funny that scarcity, it sounds also like scared.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right. They fit together.
Right. It's like I'm scared because it takes something to start over.
Yeah.
Right. The same. And it's so crazy because the same amount of hard work you put into that relationship, it's equally work when you get out of it to start
Absolutely.
over. But it's like, which work do you want to work on?
Yeah. It's like choose your hard.
Right. It's like you either want to continue, and is anything changing with that hard work?
Yeah.
You know, remember the game Operation?
I
And you
do.
used to have to, yeah, and you used to have to like try to put the thing in it before it exploded.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how people are inside of relationships that are no longer working.
Yeah.
Like
Like
they're trying to put
any little thing can like, it's gonna blow
right,
it all
and it's
up.
on a timer and it can blow up, you know,
Yeah.
and you're like putting your little work in and you're like hustling. And it's a lot of stress on both parties, you
Yeah.
know, when you're
And I think
operating in that
it
way.
addresses what you're saying about like, when we have an issue around, I feel like this, the way I define single girl shame is not something that comes from singlehood. It's something that comes from believing there's something wrong with singlehood. Right?
Right,
So it doesn't matter whether you're in a relationship or not. If you have that shame, the reason that any little trigger could blow it up is because you're so afraid that if it breaks up, that there's going to be like there's some story that there's horribleness in it. There's something
right.
wrong with you. I'm going against my family. Like, it's a problem. So I know for me, a lot of it was I wasn't always so interested in being traditional or trying to go along with my family. But here I was setting myself up as this relationship and love coach. And as the relationship was breaking down, I was like, how can I be in a relationship that's breaking down when I'm, setting myself up as this expert around relationships? How am I in this situation where, I can't even barely stand to look at this person at this point? And we can't even have a conversation when I've set myself up this way. And I think it shows up, that single girl shame shows up in so many ways. And, it's very particular. For you, what did that look like for you? Like when you were getting to the end of it, were you like, my parents are going to be mad, or, what am I going to do with my kids? Like, what was
Well,
your
I
story?
really, the shame of it for me was not about what other people were going to think.
Yeah.
The shame of it was like time. I was ashamed of the time that I spent and it not working. I
Yeah.
wasn't ashamed of what people thought. I wasn't ashamed of what family thought. You know, I was ashamed of that. We both invested so much time and our families invested so much time in each other. You know, like he invested into my family, I invested into his family. And now we spent all of this time and it didn't work. I was ashamed that it didn't work.
Wow. Was that like
You
the story, like I failed somehow?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I failed him, I failed his family, I failed my family, I failed my dreams,
Yeah.
right? And it was tough, you know, like really facing that I wasn't a failure. Because
Yeah.
when you go into something, you are so excited about it working out,
Yeah.
right? And
Absolutely.
listen, I
Wait,
don't
did
know.
you do the whole like? Did you have like the whole like big family wedding, like the whole?
No,
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 you
no,
didn't.
we were not married.
Okay. Oh, okay.
We were not married. And
Okay.
so, but you would think we were,
Yeah.
you know, the way we were, and you would
Yeah.
think we were. And so, the way our families intertwined, and just like until this day, like we're still connected in that way through family. The fact of not working out how it was designed in my mind,
Yeah.
right? Like I had to wrestle with and mourn the dream that I had in my mind,
Yeah.
because that dream was not what was in reality.
Yeah.
It was something, a figment, right? And a lot of that figment of imagination was also me putting things on him that he was not, that
Yeah.
he never agreed to. That
Right.
he
Like he didn't even know you were defining for him.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Like, and women do that, right? Because
Yeah.
we jump into relationships and we think like, okay, I don't like that thing about him. So we pretend like we're accepting that thing about another person.
Yeah.
And what we're really doing is like eventually that's going to change.
Yeah. Or
So,
I'll fix it later.
right, or I'll fix it later, or he'll fix it,
Yeah.
or I'll convince him to fix it, or
Yeah.
whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But that in itself is so built on like sand. It's not built on a solid foundation because you're coming into it not accepting who this human being is, right?
Yeah.
And then you expect this person to accept all of you.
Right.
Yeah, you building like a Build-A-Bear in your mind, you know,
Absolutely.
like, and so it's built off of something that's not even based on reality. And
Yeah.
so you can see how you're setting I know I set myself up for a lot of failure just living in that false dream.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that 100%. And I feel like that a lot of that resonates with my experience as well. Just like, I said earlier about romance novels. I had such a dream about what it was all supposed to look like. And I've had several committed relationships throughout my adulthood. And with each one, there was this, this expectation that it was going to be that,
Right.
whatever that was. And to tell you the truth, I don't know that I ever really had full clarity on that. It's just
Right.
that so many things, including romance novels, had informed me that there's some dream that I'm going to create, that it's going to be magically somehow, right?
Yeah. Like, and then we're fed through television, through music, like there are songs that trigger your imagination. And then when your guy doesn't show up like that imagination, you're like, what am I doing?
Right?
Who are you?
What's wrong with him? What's wrong with me?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Why are you not showing up like Drake?
Right. So Drake in yours, mine is Jason Momoa. I'm like, why are you
what
not?
I'm saying? Right. Like whatever, Drake, Genuine, any of them, like why are you not showing up like that? Right.
Yeah.
And it happens both ways, where we are fed all of this imagery. And it's also, you got to remember it's so funny that you brought up romance novels, because I didn't read romance novels.
No.
Right. And I didn't, when the new Barbie movie came out, right? And so everybody went to go see it. I didn't play with Barbies. I had all the Barbie stuff, like the car, the house, all the accessories that Barbie had, because I was the Barbie.
Yeah. So you centered it around.
Yeah. So I would teleport myself into that house or into that car versus actually physically playing with the doll. Right.
Yeah.
And so what that allowed my imagination to do, even when I got into like relationships, I was always porting myself into whatever was being, fed to me through television, through, and we got to face these unrealities that we live in, right? Because they're causing us so much pain in our real life.
Absolutely.
I was still looking for Daddy Warbucks from Anna.
I do. I do know, like that Disney someday my dreams will come.
Yes, you know what I mean? And so like we live inside, and then we are shaken up when life is presenting itself, when life is
lifing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so for me, the fantasy of us getting married, us having the big wedding, and that not happening, that was a break in my heart, because what it really was like I had to deal with reality of that not happening. So I had to release the shame that I put in all this work for this dream that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I took that time to release that in these 4.5 years. I said, thank goodness I wasn't with anybody that had to go through all those processes with me. You know what I mean? To heal.
Totally. I want to dive into the 4 years and ask you some questions about it. First, I want to get to Kaisha and DJ, who've both joined us. Kaisha says, hi, ladies. I'm going to chat as often as I can. Yes, I was ashamed with myself. So Kaisha, when you chat more, tell us what you're talking about. Give us some more information if you're willing to share. And DJ says, she says, where's my genuine? So I guess that's her. That's her magic prince.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So tell me, Miss Meika, about because I know for me, the time that the times that I've spent single throughout my adulthood, it wasn't until that most recent sort of stint that I had any understanding that there was work to be done. Right? There used to be a time where the moment I was single, I got to find something new, right? Or I can't let
Oh,
too much
that burn was there, girl.
Oh
That burn was there, but the universe was like, I'm sitting you down,
down.
all the way down.
Yeah, I love that. So tell me some things that you felt you had to embrace
I had
in
to
order to
embrace,
make it what
I
you
had
needed
to
to be.
embrace no.
Mm.
I had to embrace no. And when I tell I'm a coach, and so we go through lessons around boundaries and training people how to set boundaries, but not just boundaries for other people, but boundaries for yourself.
Yeah.
And one of the main boundaries for yourself is your ability to say no to
Mm.
yourself,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Because we can step over those lines, because most of the time the boundary lines we set for ourselves are written in pencil. So
Yeah.
we erase those lines and nobody even knew the line was there,
Yeah.
So when you're like, oh, I'm not going to have the potato chips,
Yeah.
you erase that line so easy because it's in pencil.
Yeah.
And so, I had met a guy and he was super nice, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
real good vibe, energy, so nice. And I had, one of my aunts, and she is like a holistic therapist and she's a healer as well. And I was telling her about him, and she had met him, and she said to me, she was like, I never get in your business, but I'm going to tell you that this is a no.
Mm.
Right. And I was like, why? He's so
Mm.
nice, like, and I was like, and he's so interesting. And she said to me, she said, you're doing it again.
Mm.
Right. She was like, and
Mm.
you can't see it. She was like, and so, one of the things about you is that you're around a lot of people, and
Yeah.
whoever's going to, be in your life is going to have to, I see those are your dogs.
Yeah, you have to. Everybody who listens to my podcast knows that they have to ignore my dog because every now and then they like to chime in. Don't mind the
And
doggies.
I got
Let
it.
mom
And
down.
so she was saying that I'm doing it again. And she was like, you're a people person, and whoever you're with is going to have to understand that you're a people person.
Yeah.
And so sometimes men might be attracted to your light,
Yeah.
right? Like everybody else is attracted to the light. She
Yeah.
said, but what will happen is they'll want to keep that light to themselves,
Mm.
right? But you're somebody who is with everybody, shining the light on everybody, right? And so it's never going to work with somebody who's like, it'll happen gradually, right? And
Yeah.
so for me, as nice as he was, I said no.
Yeah.
And to be able to say no to somebody who's nice,
Yeah.
who is
He's not
generous,
doing anything bad.
and
He's
not
just
doing anything bad, is not a crazy narcissist,
Yeah.
right? It's like, how do you say no?
Yeah.
And that first no allowed me to wake up to discernment.
Mm.
That first no was like, holy crap. Almost like you actually have. So my no's have always been to the crazy people. Like,
Uh-huh. The obvious, like the
yes.
obvious things. The crazy people, the people that didn't know how to act, the people who didn't know how to like have manners, didn't want to pay for nothing. Those are the
Right.
easy no's.
Those were the
Right?
easy
And you
no's.
always hear like women on social media who are like, touting the fact that they say no to that sort of thing. It's like, that's the lowest bar. It's being able to, like you're talking about, being able to say no to someone who's a great person. They just don't align with you. Or, they're doing all the right things, but all those right things might not necessarily work for what you're envisioning. Like, yeah.
Exactly. Like being able to say no to that, and this
Yeah.
person's like, hey, you want to go on vacation, let's do this,
Yeah.
let's go over here, let's go over there. And you're like, no,
That
that
so
was
good in the immediate.
Oh my gosh, that was like,
Yeah.
but it woke me up to my options. It also
Yeah.
woke me up to my values. It woke me up to that first no, and being able to be okay with that no and not regretting the no.
Yeah.
It opened up another portal
Yeah.
to, what's possible for me. But
Ab-
without having the courage to say no to the nice guy, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I would still be in that world of, and then, who knows, I would be doing it again, like my aunt said, trying to fit him into, a box that he didn't sign up for.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it would have had you still in that holding pattern. I mean, I think that that's what my experience was. That's what I say. I had several, my first committed relationship was about almost 13 years, but I had several like, here's a 5 year, here's a 3 year, and it was that not getting out of that holding pattern of just, if I don't say no, if I don't know how to recognize that that person's out of
Right.
alignment, then
Right.
I'm just going to keep doing the same thing over and over. Your aunt was like so on the money.
Right. She was spot on. Well, she knows me well. So she's watched me my whole life. And she's like, I see the pothole, honey. Like,
Right. I see you about to step in it. We
right.
all, we all need those aunties. So Kaisha came back. She said, I spoke to Meika about my shame because I felt bad that I accepted my ex-husband's bad behavior. Then he left me in the end. I was ashamed of compromising my feelings to keep my marriage together. Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Thank you, Kaisha, for just like having the courage to speak upon that,
Yeah.
because we don't talk about the shame of what we allowed,
Yeah.
like, that's a big part of this single, not shaming yourself while you're single. It's like a lot of times some people don't want to live in that single space because you have to face some of the things that you've allowed in that single
Yeah.
space, right?
Absolutely.
And sometimes that what you've allowed can be so overwhelming,
Yeah.
right? And like you start to blame, shame, condemn yourself, dismiss yourself, right? And you're like, how could I have allowed so much time? Like my thing was time. How could I have
Yeah.
allowed so much time? How could I have allowed blah 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 blah, whatever it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I look at it now in a healed space, like I you can't do better if you don't know better.
Absolutely.
Right. And so
Absolutely.
there's no school. There's no like singlehood school, or like there's no relationship school, where that you can go to. I feel like I need to build it, right? So,
I mean, that's why I do what I do because it doesn't exist. There is no
right,
school.
right. And there's no school. So I wasn't taught how to be and how to choose,
Yeah.
right? And how to accept myself.
Yeah.
I wasn't taught how to come from myself, right? And then choose from first accepting me first. Nobody taught me that, right? That was something I had to learn. And so I think what happens inside of relationships, inside of the relationship with yourself when you're going through singlehood, right, is that burn of looking at what you've allowed, because it
Mhm.
is a burn.
Yeah.
You're it's like fire. So you don't want to deal with that burn. So you immediately jump. So
Hmm.
let me get outside. Let me hit these streets.
Yeah.
Right. And you're not even like on the sidewalk. You're like in the streets.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
You
true.
come with me. You come with me. So,
Or you're doing exactly the opposite, where it's just like I'm closing the candy store, I'm cutting it all off, and I'm setting my boundaries so tight, and the barrier to entry is so thick
right.
that emotionally I might let you
The
near me
Hulk can't
physically.
even get through. Right.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And a lot of times we'll let through physically, but emotionally it's like, I'm
Right.
so ashamed with what like you say, what I allowed. And I hate that as women, we often do that to ourselves, like what I allowed,
Right.
right? As if, yes, there's that part of you that's like,
Punishment, even in the statement.
right? Yeah. And so that's one thing I feel like in the awareness of that, we can, there's opportunity to sort of release ourselves from this idea that you have to be, first of all, hyper diligent. As far as like, if I see any sign of what I had before or what happened before, I'm cutting it off. And also just feeling like, I can't let anybody in for real because of what I allowed in the
Yeah.
past, right?
Yes.
I feel like it's important for us to like give ourselves a break on that, like a little bit of grace.
No, I think that is important. I mean, when you go through something and you are in a relationship and it's been quite painful, I think grace is that would be the number one lesson. If I
Yeah.
built a, school, it would be like, let's teach
Grace.
grace,
Yeah.
as like the number one foundation, because as women, we don't give ourselves grace,
Yeah.
for what we needed to go through to learn.
Right.
I'm not mad at any of those lessons.
Right.
Like I looked at, the time I spent was like shameful, but it really wasn't.
Yeah.
It was like that relationship taught me so much. And it taught me so much about myself,
Yeah.
the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
Right. And there was a lot of good as well.
Yeah. Because if there wasn't that piece of good and we forget about, we probably wouldn't have stayed, right? It's always that piece of good, no matter how big or small, depending on what we're perceiving it as, that is what keeps us. And we often forget that there was part of us that was smart enough to enjoy that piece of good.
Right.
We just
Right.
maybe weren't letting ourselves see all of it. But like you said, that's the lesson. We
Right.
can't be expected to know what we didn't know.
Right. Like, and I think a lot of women are so hard on themselves because this is stuff you don't know.
Yeah.
Like if
No
you didn't
one
go
teaches.
through it,
Yeah.
like if you didn't go through it, how do you know it?
Exactly.
I didn't know. I didn't know certain aspects about myself. I witnessed my mom, I witnessed my grandmother and the women in my family, and they stuck it through.
Yeah.
And so that's what you do. You
Right.
stick it through,
Yeah. Yeah. No matter what.
Right. And you stick it through. And as my grandmother would say, don't be fat,
Right.
you know,
That's hilarious.
don't get fat, It's like, girl.
I have a similar pathology in my family. And, when you think about that, it's funny, when as we're talking about it, but like, that mentality, you stick it through and don't be fat. Like that is just so oppressive for women. But I come from that same mentality, right? Like my grandma, we used to call her Fat Mama because at some point she was very big, and that's all she used to talk about is how big everybody was getting. Oh, you gained weight.
You big. Oh, you gained weight. Oh, you must not be happy. That man stressing you out. You got a little bigger. Oh my goodness. You putting on some pounds. Look at your face. It's so round. It used to be long. It blah, blah, blah. And so on top of all the other things I think is wrong with me, you know what I mean? I'm like dealing with the anxiety of getting fat.
Yeah. Like I can't even try to like placate myself or regulate my nervous system with cake. I'm so busy trying to endure and stay thin.
And stay thin. Yeah. And I was, this single girl part of my life is it's actually I've gone through all like a lot of the phases of it, like the shame, the loneliness, and I had to really begin to distinguish the difference between loneliness and aloneness.
Talk about that distinction.
Yeah, loneliness is really it's really painful.
Yeah.
And I look at loneliness like a voided cup that you just can't fill.
Yeah.
Like it has a hole in it,
Yeah.
or many little holes, very micro holes. So they're not noticeable.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, and myself included, didn't know that I was operating out of loneliness. Right. And so loneliness will have you think like, oh, I'm just out at the party. I'm just having a good time. You know what I mean? Loneliness will have you, oh, I'm just shopping, right?
Yeah.
Like I just gotta get a new thing, right? Oh yeah, I just need these Marshall Bluetooth headphones, or like I just need this, the stuff that's on the line when you're waiting in Marshalls.
Uh-huh.
It's
Impulse,
impulse
impulse.
buying, you know. Oh, I need these paper towels that have prints on them. It's like you don't realize that the loneliness is triggering these behaviors, and they're like normal behaviors. So you won't recognize that you're operating from loneliness,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know? And so I started to see that your brain, when you're with somebody for a long time, your brain has gotten used to certain habits.
yeah,
Like, just even if the relationship is dysfunctional, your brain has gotten so used to a particular habit of presence,
yeah. And a
right?
numbing.
Right. And so now when you move into being alone, right? That presence is no longer there, whether it's functional or dysfunctional.
Mhm.
And for your brain, there's like a missing,
Yeah.
right? And so instead of dealing with whatever that is, you go and like, let me go party, let me go drink, let me go smoke, let me go, just date random people, let me go, whatever it is for you. For me,
Yeah.
it was like food, and it was also shopping,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
I can
know?
imagine. So when
Yeah.
you say the missing, because I'm there's that belief that plays in the background, and I know for myself when I've experienced loneliness or found myself experiencing loneliness, there was a record playing in the background, right? That I did something wrong to be alone. I deserve this. This is my punishment. Like that's what I had.
Girl, when you say
Loneliness.
record, it was what came up for me is a house is not a home
Yeah.
when there's no one there to
Yeah.
hold you tight and no one cares. Right?
Yeah. Like I'm not doing this right if there ain't
Right,
nobody here. I hear.
right, right.
Yeah.
And so, Luther, when you said a record starts playing, if there is a sound, because we do have soundtracks to our lives, if there is a
Absolutely.
soundtrack to my loneliness, it would be a house is not a home,
Yeah.
you know? And because I put a lot of value on house,
Mm.
home,
Yeah.
right? And so being in your home without any presence, just you, right? And Namaste, which is my Buddha statue.
Okay.
It was like, oh shit,
This is not right.
something's not right. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I made myself wrong for even feeling the experience of feeling lonely,
Yeah.
you know? And I had to get that it's in that pit of loneliness when I actually allow myself to feel it.
Mhm.
Because I think that's what we do is we don't allow ourselves to feel it.
Yeah.
We'll go everywhere else in the world, be on
Yeah.
the phone, have conversations,
Food, like you were saying.
food, travel, whatever. We'll do anything, everything to avoid experience it. But it was like I had to go through it,
Yeah.
really feel the loneliness, and there is an exit point.
Hmm. Yeah. Like if you let it happen, if you let it process.
Let it happen. There
Yeah.
is an exit point,
Yeah.
but it's like you gotta go through that storm in order to get out of it,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I had to do that in these 4.5 years.
I want to stay on that for a minute because I think that our culture is such a fix it fast culture, and it's always about that instant gratification. And I feel like when it comes to things like loneliness and being able to just even acknowledge, like I was speaking to a potential client on the phone yesterday, and to even just acknowledge that I have an emotional feeling that someone else might perceive as negative, I think sometimes is so hard for us. And I want us to just honor that there is so much value in being able to recognize it and sit in it and let it move through your body and what it means to actually do that. So can you talk about a little bit for you, because I know for me sometimes it's I just want to stuff cake, and I have to be conscious about, like, you want to stuff this cake because you're feeling depressed about something. You want to stuff this cake because you're telling yourself that you need to be disappointed about something. And so what was sort of your your way of talking yourself through, let me go ahead and feel and process this? What do you have to tell yourself to buoy yourself through it?
Well, I'm not alone.
Got
I
it.
had to recruit my coaches,
Yeah.
right? I had to recruit people who are responsible enough to handle the truth,
Yeah.
right? And not just girlfriends that you could shoot the breeze with.
Yeah. Or
And
might just co-sign.
right, or
Right, a lot of
co-sign.
times your girlfriend's a co-sign.
Right, right. Or just like, girl, that's some stuff. That's some
Right.
deep stuff.
I hope you
Hey,
work it out.
right.
Good luck with that.
Right. You need to pray, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all gonna work out. It's like that's not how this is feeling right now. It's
Yeah.
all gonna work out. So really like sharing with my community of women and coaches that was able to be responsible with all my ugly. Like having I can't stress enough how important it is to have a committed listener that is going to listen to all the ugly and still hold a space of your greatness for you. I
Yeah.
can't stress it enough. Women are doing it by themselves, and you will get an illness. You will die trying to do it by yourself.
100%.
And so I have had, many upsets where my coach or my committed listener would be able to like listen to it be ugly without judgment, right? Without trying to fix it, and just be able to empty it out and then guide.
Hey sis, I know you. You want to attract a partner who genuinely loves you as a woman. You want to break generational cycles and experience the fulfilling romantic relationships that your mother and maybe even your grandmother didn't have. You want to learn how to release the pattern of navigating your love life through past hurts, trauma, and abandonment issues. So I've made this easy to consume, effective digital course just for you. It's called A Love Life That Loves You Back. I'm Candace Harper, a relationship coach and hypnotherapist, and I would love to help you create that love life. Just go to bit.ly/loving relationships for WOC. Can't wait to see you there.
That's why coaches are important, because they can observe steps all around you, right? That you can't visibly or emotionally see.
Yeah.
Because you're not in that space to see.
Yeah.
So
100%.
having that support is what also allowed me to expand and grow. Imagine if I didn't listen to my aunt.
Yeah.
I always say 1,000 times over. My aunt has saved my life 1,000 times over. Imagine if I didn't listen to her, and her saying, take this step. So a lot of people don't trust like a coach.
Yeah.
It's like, get yourself a coach. Get yourself somebody that you can talk to, that you can trust, that they can set you straight, and you trust what they're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Not just your homeboy, not just your homegirl. It's like you trust that wisdom. And so when you take that step, it's like there's a pillow under the step for you, because they already seen it. They know that that's the best valuable step for you. That whatever that step is, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's what I had to do.
And it's also making the choice to step out of the story of lonely, right? Like if I go ahead and accept that I need the support of a community, I'm taking the first step actually out of where I'm stuck.
Right.
And that willingness to say lonely is it's all on me. I'm all alone. Nobody's here to help me. But the moment I say, you know what, help. I need help.
White flag.
Right.
White flag. Flag on the play. Like my girlfriend Michelle always says, flag on the play. That white flag, I need help.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm hemorrhaging.
Yeah.
And like people are suffering because they won't allow themselves to trust another that is responsible. I'm not saying give your business out to the world, people who can't not even give you a step. That would be senseless. But give yourself to somebody who has the ability to move you and those emotions into a direction that's going to have you expand and grow.
Yeah. Yeah. Have someone who actually can guide you without like emotional skin in the game, like an understanding of your best self.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So I had to do that. And they were there. They were like, and then I had to really get into this 4.5 years of singlehood. I had to really step my game up spiritually.
Yeah. Got it. So what are some ways that you did that? Like, what are some ways when you say step my game up? Like what?
Like really taking the time to meditate, doing different meditations, understanding frequencies, because people are always in this language of high frequency, low frequency, which is all like untruths, because some of the lowest frequencies are gamma, which allow you to really access parts of your brain that you can't, right?
Yeah.
But that's a low frequency. Some of the highest frequency cause anxiety, like 808, So high, low, none of that makes sense. It's just frequency,
Yeah.
right? And the frequency that's more like in alignment with you in the state that you're in. And so I had to really start learning about frequencies and balancing my brain, because a lot of thoughts, trigger emotions, and thoughts have their own frequencies, and so does your emotions.
Yeah.
And so I had to start to link those two, really doing tons of meditations. I had a wellness center called the Crystal Raven. So using my crystals, really meditating with my crystals, reading, understanding the lost Gospel of Thomas, right, which is a portion of that was supposed to go into the Bible that was not in the Bible at all, right? But they found the scribes of the Apostle Thomas, and he wrote down verbatim what Jesus was saying without interpretation. And so like really understanding that and understanding the power within me versus outside of me. Because when I started to go within me and really start to spiritually connect to who I am as divine light, I started to see how needy that other personality of myself was.
Yeah.
Right. And everything was like, I need you to step up like that. I need you to show me this. I need you to blah, 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 versus even looking at myself as a responsible participant in my own life. It was all about, what another can provide for me versus what I provide for myself.
Yes. And it sounds like from what you're saying that took that ability to kind of step outside of yourself and observe yourself, which that's not something we're taught either. Right? To be able to say it's about what I provide for me, not what someone else provides for me. I have to be able to look at myself. And I think that's something that, we struggle with because, I know I think of my mom, my aunts, my older sister, like people who were models for what it is to be a woman and my womanhood, and forgive me, the ones that are still on this earth. And, we weren't taught to look at ourselves. So everyone was just kind of
self-reflection, right?
Self-reflecting. Everybody was just kind of acting out of, oh, I'm experiencing this right now. This is happening. And I'm just responding to that. Or this didn't go right. I need to do that. Or, whatever. But I think that ability to self-reflect and observe ourselves, that takes something as well.
First of all, it's interesting because I'm coaching a senior couple, right? And they're seniors. And it's very interesting. We had a conversation around accountability, right? And just asking them to be accountable for something very small that they contribute to, that's not really working for either one of them, was an hour-long conversation.
Having them admit that something they perceive as bad,
something very
they might be doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was like a wake-up call of how many people struggle with that level of accountability, because accountability is always perceived like blame.
Yeah.
So the brain just doesn't want to blame itself, right? Even though it always does.
Yeah, always does.
It's always blaming you anyway, right? But if you remove the blame, it's like you have more space to actually say, I can be accountable for being, like I just said, being needy, needing somebody outside of me to fill that cup.
Yeah.
Right. And I do have needs.
Yeah.
And I had to learn that I had needs.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between acknowledging your needs than being needy.
Mm.
You know?
Yes. Make
And
that distinction for people. Make
right.
that distinction.
So like I have needs.
Yeah.
So and I have values. And I realized in this single girl celebration was the difference between my values and putting my values at priority and distinguishing what those needs actually are. That was actually a struggle because the things that I thought I needed, right, from a man,
Yeah.
is not it,
No.
right?
Yeah.
And the universe keeps sending me little nuggets, right, to show me what I actually need versus being needy.
Yeah.
And so I met a gentleman and he was so conscientious
Mm.
of my needs
Yeah.
without me telling him what my needs were.
Mm.
And so I had already previously, before I met this gentleman, had said, like, I need someone who is conscientious.
Yeah.
Not just at the surface level of being conscious, right? But like somebody who can really dig deep and be conscientious, because I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
I value that about myself.
Yeah.
That I'm conscientious, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't know I was conscientious. What I thought I was just like always pouring into a man, or or I'm a ride or die. I got his back. Right?
Yes.
But I didn't really quantify it and say, oh, that's me being conscientious. So I was always ride or die. I got your back. Oh, you got a business? I'm going to take it to the next level, right? I was that chick.
Yeah.
But not seeing the value of what it was or that I need it as well.
Yes. And that it is your core value. Like it's a core value of yours.
It is a core value of mine. And like, I will not compromise that. Before I would, because I would do more thinking that if I do more, I would convince you to value that.
Yeah.
Right? Because you would see all that you're receiving and maybe you'll value it and give it back.
Which never
Which
works.
is very needy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I need you to see it. I need you to understand it. I need you to give it back.
I need you to live up to it.
I need you to live up to it. Right?
And
if I just focused on I need conscientiousness, that will be within you. It's like it's a natural expression.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. And I love that you're saying that because it validates what I often say to clients about core values and core value alignment. And I always say, keep that focus on aligning with what you know is important to you. Keep that focus on, once you're clear about knowing that this is who you are and you appreciate, acknowledge that within yourself, keep that focus on alignment with it. Those things that fulfill you, that's what attracts and magnetizes it in other people, is that I'm just aligned with, I think so often we think that it's about, the man list, and he got to meet this and this and that and that, or, whatever gender that you date, they got to meet this or that and this and the other thing. And it's like, no, you meet it. Right. You understand what it is and you meet it. And that is what you will magnetize, because those who don't align, I feel like they generally opt themselves out. And sometimes we don't want to let people do that.
Right.
Let them go.
Let me tell you, the universe, like I said, it sat me down because it didn't present many possibilities for me in these 4.5 years.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were coming knocking down my door like, oh, she's single now. Let's go get her.
And I know that feeling because I had that period of time, and it's a humbling, right?
Oh, yes.
Right. I know you were with someone for 18 years, but I also know that you're a very pretty girl. And so like it's almost that pretty privilege of like having a life of I've dated. And like you said, you've been dating since 14 and used to be. And I know you're very social. And I think coming from that place and then going through a dry spell, it does sit you down because it's like, wait, what?
It sat me down. It didn't sit me down. It sat me down.
I believe it.
It was like, sat down and learn these
Yeah.
lessons, girl. Right?
Yeah.
Sat it down. And you know, I value it. I can
Yeah.
laugh about it. I value it. Right.
Yeah.
And it's a privilege it's actually a privilege to actually have that space, because I have a lot of friends who won't allow themselves that space.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And so it's and I believe in energy.
Yeah.
And so if you don't, all these energies are, you're entertaining all of these energies,
Yeah.
you know, that are not in alignment with you. And so because I value, remember, I was ashamed of time, right? And now I value my time.
Yeah.
It's like another one of my core values. I value the time. And one of the things that I learned from the other gentleman was that when he spoke to me, he was very grounded and present. His head wasn't on a swivel.
Yeah.
You know, like talking to me like, yeah, yo, blah, 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 blah. You know?
Like looking in other places.
Yeah. Right. It was very like grounded, like right here with me, you know? And I was like, oh, I didn't know I needed that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so when you allow yourself the space, the universe will start showing up things that, because I've been present to myself. So why wouldn't this gentleman, you see, like now I'm recognizing myself
Yep.
versus anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that too. You know, people are a mirror of our relationship with ourselves. Those people that we connect, because they're mirroring exactly who we're being with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just enjoyed being present.
Yeah.
Right? Like just having a conversation and being very grounded and very present. And one of the things that I also got was that I felt comfortable. There was no auditory conversation in my head about what was going on. It was just like being with somebody I've known for 30 years, you know?
Like
it was right. Cause you know, and they talk about that in, you know, like relationship experts, and you may know this, like there wasn't like all of this passion and like, you know, it was just like
spark and chemistry.
Yes. It was like so even, so mild. I felt like myself.
I think that's another one of the things that we've been sold. It's that feeling like myself. That's like peace, right? That's peace and ease. We have been sold this bill of goods that it's supposed to be this spark of chemistry and my stomach's supposed to flip and I'm supposed to. No, if that's happening, your body's trying to tell you something. But if you can be who you are and you can breathe and you can sit back and not ruminate and not worry about what's happening tomorrow or what happened yesterday, like you're in the space. Like
right. Yeah. Because a lot of people, as soon as you meet somebody, you are in commentary. Does he like my teeth? Do I have anything in my teeth? Do I have a booger? Is my hair straight? Is my hair puffing up? Like, does he like my figure? Is he into my complexion? And you know, like all of this commentary, you know, and it is a lie if you say that you don't.
Right.
You are lying.
You say you don't do that.
Right.
No, it's
true. This was like a really interesting experience to not have any commentary. I had it flipped where I thought, oh, I have no commentary because that's the boring guy.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the you know, the ordinary guy. Right. But it's like, no, I'm comfortable in my skin. I'm like, I'm not thinking about my teeth. I'm not thinking about my hair fluffing or my figure or anything.
Yeah.
I'm present. I'm grounded.
I love that. I want to ask you, but I don't want to put you on the spot to be telling your business in front of everybody. But is this something you're going to continue on with this gentleman?
No, it was
Oh,
just a blessing. It was just
okay.
an interaction that
Mhm.
woke me up to, oh,
This is how it can be.
yes.
Yeah, this is what I
Hmm.
want. Yeah, I got you. And sometimes that's all someone's purpose is, right?
I've accepted that.
Yeah, yeah. Like here to
I've
show
accepted
you.
that. Like, it doesn't have to be Prince Charming. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be the Ken doll. It's
Right?
like literally you came in to like allow me to experience this, and it
Yeah.
woke me up to I like men who are grounded, who are
Yeah.
present, and who are conscientious
Yeah.
for themselves.
Yeah.
Not just you're doing it for me, but for yourself. That's like part of your DNA, you
That
know?
that makes me think of how we often don't have that conversation, when it comes to men in general. Like it's just as important for them to have that self-knowing and self-alignment as it is for us to have it. And I know a lot of women online complain about that they're not doing the work that we're doing and all of that, which I think is bunk, right? You're telling yourself that story. But I think it is important that men be in that conversation as well. Like when you're in self-acceptance and in line with who you are and who you know yourself to be, that's healthy for all of us. I don't
Right.
care who you are. And to partner with someone, you got to be coming from that place if you want things to work. Because
Right.
otherwise, we can't do it for each other. It just doesn't work, right?
Right. Right. And I love when I tell you, let me tell you something. Let me
Mhm.
tell you something about Black men, how much I love them. Like I just love
Andy Stone.
I love me some Black men. I love
Yes,
them,
honey.
right?
I'm with you.
And I think there's so much that I want to pour into Black men, and not any intimacy, not on anything that has anything to do with intimacy, but it has something to do with the nurturing that we all need,
Yeah,
right? And we all deserve,
yeah,
and the acknowledgement, so that it's not the car that acknowledges you. It's not the how many houses you have that
right.
acknowledge you. It's like you're acknowledged because you are beautiful, Black man, because you exist.
Yeah,
I want to acknowledge them for just their existence, so that all the foolery and fuckery, right? All of that can die, so
yeah,
that I see you, right? And it's like I have eyes to see the beauty of who they are without all of that, you
yeah,
know? But
yeah,
I need you to see you,
yeah.
and I need you to see me,
Right. Yeah,
right? And so, I have 3 adult Black children,
yeah,
Black men.
yeah,
And so it for me, it's like it's just a warm space in my heart. And sometimes love is not about butterflies, and
yeah,
so love is no.
yeah,
Love are those hard no's.
yeah,
Love is get your together.
yeah,
Love is truth tea. Love is truth talk.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
And inside of that truth, that's why I said it's so important to go through that storm and really face your loneliness. Like, tell the truth about it to somebody,
Yeah,
right? Tell the truth about it to somebody, because I promise you, through that storm, somebody will show up
absolutely.
that went through that storm they might have gone through that storm on the other side of the world, but they went through that storm, and then y'all can meet together because y'all understand what it took to go through that to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful, Coach Meika. I wish that we could just kind of talk about it all day, because everything we're talking about brings up other things. Like I'm thinking about, attachment and what we do about attachment, because I think that contributes to single girl shame. There's so many different aspects of this, but I don't know if you can tell, I have a very noisy house today.
No, it calmed down. I haven't heard anything
Yeah,
since we
no,
called.
good. Okay, because I got other background stuff going on. But yeah, will you come back on the show again?
Absolutely.
part two? Because I want us to get into the whole thing about
Absolutely.
attachment and stuff like that. And I love how, I mean, I know you to be a powerful coach, and I love how you are open and share yourself. And like I said, when we first started working together months ago, I was like, I need a truth teller. I need someone who understands that the truth is love and how to deliver it with that kind of truth and compassion. And I feel like that's what so many of us as powerful women of color need, is our truth tellers. And so I would love for you to come back on for a part two at some point. We'll figure out a date. And so we can talk about things like attachment.
Yes.
And, and also I want to get like a full scope of, well, actually, let me just ask you now, if you don't mind taking the extra time to talk about how are you celebrating your single season right now? What do you do to celebrate it now in the present?
What I do now is how I can just sum it up is being comfortable.
Yeah.
It's like I am comfortable in my skin. I am comfortable in, I live by everything is always working out for me. I live by that, right?
Yeah.
And so I am comfortable with my way of being outside. Like sometimes I would go outside and I would go to the party and being like, who's going to choose me?
Yeah.
No, that's not how I celebrate now.
Good.
I'm the chooser.
Yeah.
I'm the chooser.
Yeah.
Right. And that puts me at such a powerful advantage for myself, is that I have choice.
Yeah.
And I have options, and that's how I celebrate it. And I look at life now as existence loves me. Right?
Yeah.
The trees know I exist.
Yeah.
That ocean, when I go on the beach, it knows I'm there.
Yeah.
Right? So that whole lonely feeling, people don't connect to existence, right? They're connecting to just people. Yeah. So of course, that's a small life if you're just connecting to people.
Yeah.
When there's all of existence. And I know that all of existence loves me.
Yeah.
So how dare I not love myself? That's how I celebrate.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Coach Meika.
You're welcome. This has been so much fun.
I'm glad that you enjoyed yourself. You're definitely going to be coming back. And I want you to talk a little bit about what it is you do. Like talk about what is the crux of the work that you do. I mean, I know because I experienced it and it has changed my life in a colossal, tremendous way. I can't even put into words unless I really sit here and, take up more time. But talk about who you specifically work with, what you do, and where people can find you.
So I work, I'm a coach, right? And that's what people describe it as, coaching. I describe it as I heal thoughts.
Yeah.
Right? We all have thoughts, and there are thoughts that do not serve us. Yeah. Right? And we don't work on the thoughts that serve you. We celebrate the thoughts that serve you because that's what's been working. Yeah. But what I work with are the thoughts that are consistently in your mind that has been haunting you. There's like a tape.
Yeah.
It's like, why do I think like that? And there are things that you want to accomplish. So everything, as you know, in our work that we've worked together, is like I'm always about what have you accomplished? Yeah. What are you accomplishing? And so we can see just through that statement what you're not accomplishing, and that's what we work on. Right?
And many times, that's just that statement alone had me in tears. So I love that. So, what have you accomplished? Nothing.
But then you start what that statement does is you start to actually believe in the facts of what you're accomplishing versus the conversations and lies that you tell yourself about what you're not accomplishing. Because a fact is a fact. You can't dispute it. It's a fact. Yeah. Yeah. And so when you start believing in, oh no, I actually did accomplish that. Oh, I actually did. And you start believing in your accomplishment, it starts strengthening your confidence in whatever area that you're lacking confidence in. There are people who have millions of dollars, they have all the world, and they're my clients, and they still are not accomplishing connecting to their kid. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it doesn't matter how much money or who you are in the world. There are areas of your life that you might be experiencing like you don't have the most confidence, or that you're not accomplishing that area. So we work on that. That's what I do. We work on those areas. And that can be from a mom, that can be from somebody in corporate America, business, couples. I also train coaches who are actual coaches and their effectiveness. So I do that as well in public speaking, and training also in companies, because sometimes inside of companies, there's such a disconnect in the communication between employee, manager, and supervisor, right? That there are many, 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 many breakdowns that are simple fixes if we communicate.
Yeah.
Right? And so distinguishing whatever those breakdowns are, and, clearing them up so that everybody are, communicating on the same page. That's also what I do.
Yeah. And I can attest to it. Changed my life. So where can people find you? How do you want people to get in touch with you?
Sure. So
also, I'm going to be putting them later on. I'm going to be putting them in the lower third so that people can see it. So
sure. So you can reach out to me through email, which is Meika, MEIKAJ 74@gmail. You can email me. You can find me on Facebook with my name is Meika Joseph, and you can find me on Instagram, which is the Crystal Raven BK.
Awesome.
DM me any questions, even questions about this session. Let's go.
Yeah, definitely. If you are out there, please, 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 if you even have an inkling of, can Meika help me? I can tell you that she absolutely can. So definitely get in touch with her, and it will change your life. It will heal your thoughts. Trust me, I tell you.
Yes. So the Candace, this has been great. Thank you.
I'm so glad. I'm glad that you took the time. Thank you. I honor and appreciate you so much. And for real, like I said, you are coming back. I am going to have you back. We're just going to talk about when. And I know there's so much more for us to talk about. I love you so much.
Love you too.
Yeah, thank you so much, Meika. And that's it, everybody. Until next time, keep being unapologetically lovable and give yourself grace. I love you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for being here, right? Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.